Welcome back. This is another official video for General Reconstruction Theory. In this video, I'm going to go into depth about the three principles behind GR theory. The first principle I'm going to talk about is the principle of effects. This is mainly dealing with effects of causation, meaning examining the cause and effect of each action. The universe is structured around cause and effect. For every action, something happens. An effect is created. Effects is a very broad term, and hopefully we can narrow it down to help explain it and show the differences. Since effects is a very broad term, we can state with confidence that effects have the highest chance of being reconstructed. In this universe, there is more effects to causes. The exact ratio depends on the expression of effects. The larger the expression of this effect, the larger amounts of causes can be behind it. An expression of an effect is simply the reaction of some broad cause, like a salesman influencing you to pay for something you don't need. If a salesman influenced you to pay for something you don't need, the expression of the effect of the salesman is caused by the chosen words. This is an expression of an effect since there is a cause and effect here, but it's so broadly defined and interpreted that it's not necessarily quantifiable. In short, expressions of effects are broad cause and effect relationships that are not quantifiable through the normal leads. It's not quantifiable through the normal A leads to B situations. So, in other words, when you have those similar A leads to B type of logical thinking of cause and effect, it's a little bit more broader to that. In these cases, A leads to Z or some sort of a variety. In some definitions, it could be seen as the butterfly effect, but in general, it's not exactly the same. A leads to B, where A is the cause and B is the effect. Let's look at some examples that we are all familiar with today. I use computers a lot in examples since computers have always been an easy way to explain some expressions of effects, whereas science can easily explain effects in the universe. A modern computer converts electrical signals into communicatable data on a screen in most languages. If you are familiar with computer programming, you understand one of the very first types of programs you can build is a simple Hello World program. The effect of having a computer display Hello World into a language that is familiar to you on your screen can be done with multiple different ways. This is an effect that is being redone over and over again. Looking at the atoms while doing this, we will be able to note that the causes are going to be different. When you break down the programming, it all narrows back down to assembly programming, which is literally dealing with zeros and ones, or also known as machine code. You can also take another common situation and call it an expression of an effect. For example, driving. Whenever you're driving from point A to point B, the act of being on point A and arriving at point B is, arriving at going from point A to arriving at point B at a specified time is the same exact way. It's an expression of an effect because you can use any vehicle. It doesn't matter which vehicle you use, whether if it's a competent vehicle or not. As long as you arrive at the same time from point A to point B, you can use any vehicle. Now, this is considered an expression of an effect. How you got from point A to point B. Now, the cause is different. The cause in this case would be a vehicle. The effect is simply going from point A to point B. All right, so now that you understand what are the broad terms of what expression of an effect is, we're going to be going into more scientific cause and effects. Okay, so we're going to be looking at different kinds of effects now. Now, that's the broad one, so let's narrow it down to more scientifically. All right, so in this case, we're going to talk about gravity. Gravity is a fundamental force of the universe. Without getting too technical, it is simply a force of attraction between two bodies in space. Gravity can be reconstructed through a different force. Science fiction will tell you that you can build a giant ring world or ring cities that rotate in space to correspond to a sensation of gravity. This fake gravity acts the same as real gravity. Of course, you would have to finely tune it to make it feel like the real gravity, but that's besides the point. The more you narrow down cause and effects, the closer you're getting to the atoms, and atoms themselves are subject to cause and effect within its own little quantum world. I'm going to tell you something I've researched into and quite interested in its implications of this. The Department of Energy is funding a research group who are using supercomputers and specialized software to mathematically simulate atoms and molecules. It's called GYGI Research Group, and it's mostly for military testing for ballistics. But the important part here is that they are literally duplicated the effects of the atoms by simulating it in a virtual world. Think about it. We now have proof that the effects of atoms can be reconstructed in a different platform. As you can see through the examples that I talked about, effects are an important part of general reconstruction. There is going to be some charts and comparison scales for effects sometime in the future. You can read about the effects on my website, and the proof of effects, as we already talked about, is represented everywhere. Thank you for listening to this video. Please stay tuned to the next video. I'm going to discuss about the principles of objects. Thank you.